What's going on, you guys? As you can see, a little bit of a different video here. I'm not going to be doing my standard voiceover. I thought it'd be easier to kind of make my points talking to you guys this way. I don't have the best microphone, so bear with me. It's kind of a low budget operation here. Also, my family's not here right now, so it makes it a little bit easier to talk to you guys without a lot of background noise, so this kind of works out. What I want to go over in this video is basically addressing a question I've gotten for a while in a lot of past videos and even recent videos of people saying they really can't feel their chest muscles engaging using a total gym or a sliding bench trainer. Really, this isn't, I get this question a lot. Well, first off, not just with a total gym, people have said this about bench pressing to me and dumbbell pressing. Really, this is a common question in a number of different body parts, a number of different exercises. Someone will say they can't necessarily feel the exercise. So this isn't uncommon. Some of this comes with just kind of thinking about the muscles, some time just doing the exercise, giving yourself that kind of muscle memory and more efficiency doing the exercise. So I'll address that a little bit. The point is, this is a common question, but I find this more of a common question with the total gym, and I've been seeing it enough that I thought it warrants a whole other video. So that's what I'll be getting into. So some of these points might kind of overlap with other exercises if you maybe are having this similar problem on a different total gym exercise, but maybe not necessarily the chest exercise. One thing, a couple of little points that I'll mention might be kind of some common sense things, but I'll get these out of the way first. Just the way every machine's different, I have to say that too, with the glide board distance, how much cable slack you got you're working with, because the Great Flex machine has a lot longer cables, so that makes a difference as well. But some common things, some simple things I'll say first, is just when you sit on the machine, how are you sitting and what angle you're sitting at. If I sit really like a normal like neutral stance, even if I'm kind of ready to go, definitely you want to start sitting like just kind of like lazily on the machine and doing this. I mean, that should go without saying, but I think it's a good point to make. Even if you're kind of in a good like standard position right here, I still like to kind of be a little more engaged, thinking about my chest, kind of having like a pre-stretch. So that's why a lot of times in videos, you guys will see me kind of leaning into it. Regardless if I'm sitting with my legs in the ground or if I'm on my knees, I'll always be kind of slightly leaned over, ready to go this way, versus I'm sitting here. Yes, this is still good. I'm not saying I would never do this, but 9 times out of 10, I like to give myself a slight lean. This tip and other tips I say might not work for everybody, but just kind of think about that when we get into it, because I'll bring up the idea of kind of getting like a pre-stretch in your chest as you're doing this. The next thing is just, well, where you're sitting on the machine, first off, because some people, again, this should go without saying, some people already know this. I don't want to get in a situation where let's say I'm sitting lower and I'm kind of bottoming out, hitting this stuff. You should never really be doing this. I'm not saying it might not happen if you're adjusting throughout a set, whatever, but a little bit higher in machine for me on this particular model, I gotta sit a little further back so that as I press, I'm not really bottoming out that back end with the cable. So think about that as well. And then last kind of point related to this kind of initial setup is just where you're holding the grip. Majority of the time, almost all the time, I'm holding it like this. Doesn't mean you can't hold it like this, but people were necessarily, if you're not necessarily, this wasn't addressed when you first got the machine. I think people's natural inclination is to kind of hold it like this. And you can see this doesn't really feel the most comfortable thing, the way this thing's kind of scratching your forearms. It's worthwhile to do, maybe if you're doing more of a higher incline press, you can pull it off, no problem. But again, make sure that you're kind of holding the grip just like this. The next point I'll make will have to be in regards to how far is the distance between like your torso to your humerus, this little bone in your arm. And basically I'm talking about this angle right here like this. This goes with bench pressing as well. This probably isn't as big of a deal with a total gym, but if you're bench pressing, you wouldn't want to be, people do, but you really don't want to be necessarily bench pressing up here with your hands, kind of your elbows essentially flared out nice and wide. The reason for that, it can essentially impinge your shoulder. The other thing is basically you start incorporating a little bit more shoulder dominance in the exercise. So to kind of split the difference, people maybe you've heard like if you do close grip, you're like that's a little more triceps. You're still gonna be using your chest as well. But this essentially a little more shoulders when I'm pressing out here. But I basically want to keep that distance more like this is what I'm kind of getting at. You can mess around with different angles. In fact, I encourage you guys to, but think about where this angle is. The point is I like to kind of keep it right like this on the majority of my exercises, regardless if I'm pressing more like a straight press or if I'm pressing more like an incline press. All right, so that's kind of the next thing I would mention to you guys to really definitely consider and think about as you guys are doing this. The next point, I think this is something that goes along really with any exercise, but definitely I'd say particularly with any kind of a pushing or chest press exercise, is to, and I've said this in a lot of videos, not in every single video, but as I'm doing this exercise, and some of this will come with experience just using your muscles and actually telling your body to kind of incorporate the right muscles you want to incorporate during a given exercise, but your body's gonna move through the path of least resistance. So if I just gave you this as a beginner and said press it, odds are you're gonna use some more of your shoulders as you do this press. What I want you guys to think about is that as you get in that start position, think about these muscles that you wanna use, in this case our chest muscles. Feel that muscle kind of getting stretched at the bottom. Feel that tension, think about that tension in your chest muscles, and then think about those same muscles that are now lengthened or stretched out are the same ones now you want to squeeze and contract. Okay, so like I'm really trying to think about it, and you can see I don't really have a heavy setting, but this is still pretty hard. Versus if I don't really think about it and I just started pressing with it, watch kind of the difference. If I try and just use my shoulders, I'll try and think of that about the opposite. I'm gonna try and think about what not to do, but this sometimes ends up with happening when people first start just getting at an exercise. All right, I can tell you right now, as I'm doing this, I don't know if it's really noticeable. Most people, you can kind of pick it up if you actually looked at it. I'm definitely using a lot more of my shoulders. I'm feeling this exercise definitely right here. And I think this alone is something people are having problems with. People will say I'm feeling it more in my shoulders and not my chest. Again, I'll show you the incorrect way, or me just kind of thinking about my shoulders. I'm just thinking about pushing it. Even if I go slow, I can still kind of think about that. I'm using my shoulders here. Now I'm going to start using my chest. All right, it's not really a mental thing, but it kind of is. I'm shifting now the tension of here and pressing through here. I don't know if you guys can really appreciate it or see it through the camera, but now I definitely feel it here. I'm going to switch right back to my shoulders now. All right, I don't know if you guys can see that, but the point is it's something you kind of have to feel. So you see that a lot of times in videos. I say I'm not feeling it there, I'm not feeling that muscle. You know, sometimes you might not get it in one take here. It might take some time to think about, but the more you use the machine, the more you do this exercise, you should start to kind of know what I'm talking about and be able to engage those particular muscles. Not saying it's going to work the first time, but hopefully you guys can kind of see that. All right, related to that, and I'm getting out of breath just from doing that, so just showing you guys how effective that was. The next thing I'm going to tell you guys is basically how your hands are pressing. All right, this isn't a hard and fast rule, but it's something I think makes a difference. Is that instead of just pressing straight out this way, so if I don't have the cable attached, I'm just doing this. All right, I want you to think about more. Again, I'm having that same concept we just thought about, but now kind of more squeezing together. All right, and I don't really have like a genetically big chest or muscles in my chest, so some people it's more pronounced. That just kind of goes with like muscle bellies, muscle architecture. Everyone's genetics a little different, but really think about your muscles in your chest kind of like popping, you know, like kind of making a move basically. As funny, as weird as that is, but I'm not going to go straight out. I can still work my chest muscles the same way I did. And see, I have a habit of already doing it. All right, so instead of doing this, I want to come a little bit together. And that just helps emphasize what I just said in that previous point about feeling it in your chest. So the next point I'm trying to say is try and bring your hands a little more closer together, basically. Now, based on everything I just said so far, I really would like you guys to get comfortable being able to do that press in the standard, what I would say the standard kind of total gym chest press exercise, which is something like this. Before we start talking about different, more kind of, I don't know, not really unique, novel exercise, but just different, just other exercises. This is kind of like the standard chest exercise. I want you guys to find what's comfortable for you. Thinking about that stretch reflex in your chest, thinking about squeezing those chest muscles, paying attention to this angle in the hands. Then I would think if you start doing other chest exercises, which we'll get into next, I don't think anything else is gonna feel as good until you kind of get that particularly dialed down. We could now, I'm gonna go ahead and grab a bar and we'll see if that really makes much of a difference. For those of you guys that maybe are having trouble just kind of isolating this exercise to your chest. All right, I got the weight bar attachment in here just to start showing you guys some different exercises and trying to put some of these concepts together on different movements. You can use the weight bar, the easy bar curl attachment. I have that, but I'm not using that. I'm just gonna use the simple weight bar attachment, slide it through this. Now you guys can certainly try this, everything we just said. Notice I'm not gonna flare them up here. I'm gonna keep it kind of more so on my chest line. I'm gonna give myself a slight lead, I'm engaged. And then again, just thinking about the muscles are stretched here, and those same muscles are the ones I want to contract as I squeeze out. The only thing I don't like about this is that I really can't get that extra action here that I wanted. I'm kind of forcing myself to press out here. As much as I say I don't necessarily like this versus the other, just open-ended handed one, I think for some people, this might help, just simply focusing on really just engaging just the simple mechanics of doing the press. My point is, you could try this. If you want to try incline pressing, this is something else you could do. More like a swooping action of starting with my chest line and then coming up. All right, for this next sequence of exercises, you guys notice I lowered the tower on my total gym. Some people, what they think of if they're not feeling in their chest, they'll think, well, I'll just bump it to the highest intensity, and since it's harder, therefore I'll just recruit my chest muscles a little more. Sometimes that is the case, but if you haven't had a history of really feeling that exercise in a lower setting, putting it higher I don't think is really gonna help. I think it's gonna basically encourage your body to kind of again go to that path of least resistance and incorporate some other muscles that are more dominant in you, whether it's for like just because they're stronger or because they just have more dominant motor programs. People might just be going more to their shoulders and more to their triceps to kind of help out do that press, even though the intensity or the tower is higher. So my point is, don't necessarily think the Howard Tower is always going to be more beneficial to kind of make you guys feel or engage that muscle group. So you might drop it down is my point. Especially with things like a chest fly. So for me personally, and again, I'm just talking off the cuff here, I do this exercise once in a while, but I prefer, if it were me, that standard press from different angles, pressing on the Pilates bar or down here. You guys have seen me do that as well. I'm pretty basic, you guys know from how I use this machine. But if I'm gonna do chest flies, definitely I drop it lower because if I put it any higher, for me personally, it's a little too hard for me, so I start using a lot more shoulders, and I definitely don't feel as much in my chest. I referenced it a little bit in the previous exercises, but along with the lines of keeping this angled, I want you guys to think about really going through a pattern, going through your chest line versus up here in your shoulder line, okay? If you're pressing the way I told you to press earlier, naturally do that, but it becomes more important as I do a chest fly. So a chest fly, same thing. Maybe you can lean in, maybe you want to see more neutral. I have a nice stretch here. Another huge thing I realized I didn't talk about is the way your shoulders are set up. I know I was already doing it, but the way my shoulders are set up, don't start, if I'm here, look at the way my shoulders are. Don't start pressing like that, okay? Notice how they're kind of pinched forward. Regardless, even if I'm leaning forward, retract your shoulder blades and press through that way. So don't get out of the habit. This is a common habit. I probably should have started with this, honestly. I'll regret that I didn't. So hopefully you guys are watching this. Don't just press. If your shoulders are hunched over in a forward posture, you got to fix that first. Fix that posture first. Retract your shoulder blades, regardless if you're leaning or sitting straight up. I said that because as I was sitting, I was sitting kind of like this doing that fly. So sit up nice, however you want to get in that angle, but my shoulder blades are still kind of retracted. I feel a stretch in my chest, and I'm thinking about squeezing through my chest line. Again, I'm going to think about just the muscles in my chest. The ones that are being stretched out, those are the ones now I want to think about squeezing, and it can depend on how you want to finish it. Notice I'm not just going out here, I'm actually kind of going this way. So try different angles. In fact, you guys, last couple of videos I've shown that one. That commenter who made the great suggestion about doing that press with the palms up. Another great thing to do. Now granted, you might be saying, well, my elbows are closer together, a little more triceps, but the fact that my palms are up, that might kind of cue you more to engage more of your chest. In that video I said, it's worth to kind of mix it up. Maybe pre-exhaust some of the chest muscles doing some standard pressing, do some flies, then go back into this press. But regardless of what you're doing, all those things, all those same kind of staple things I said should remain the same. So again, one more time, this is what I guess this is what I would not want to see. not just me going fast, but even if I go slow. Notice here, I'm going through like more of a shoulder line. I'm coming low and I'm arching through my shoulder. I'm really feeling this in my deltoids. Not necessarily a bad thing if that's your goal. Notice I'm using my feet here. If you want to help kind of guide, make it easier, you can do that too. But I'm going to come out wide, nice stretch. I want to press through this way. Different angles here. We're going to go underneath, standard fly. And again, this would be the wrong way, is up here, just kind of going up through my shoulders. So I don't know if you guys can catch that. Instead of just basically make a nice stretch here, going through your chest line, focusing on this. Don't start just doing this type thing, if that kind of helps. I don't know how that helps explain it, but point is, think about the muscles, think about opening up your chest, think about those same muscles contracting. Even on fly patterns, even if you're doing these supinated presses, even if we start going into some other stuff like this, let's try just a single arm chest press, okay? Something like this. I'm gonna switch it around here. All right, I don't know if you guys, I don't know if I'm in frame or not, but I have a nice stretch here. That same muscles when I'm stretching and pressing. Not a bad exercise. I'd still probably prefer the other one, but I can do that same, emphasize that same patterns I'm doing. I'm really trying to get a nice pre-stretch. Now I'm getting more of an incline angle. All right, but the same rules apply. Think about pressing through here, not using just my shoulders, all right? Because now this is all shoulders. I can feel that a lot right there. All right, then I'm gonna kind of wrap things up here, show another one of my staple chest exercises that I personally like. Again, I'm not saying these will all work for you. You guys will all like these exercises. This is just kind of what I like to kind of, that's what I personally do to kind of think about really stretching and contracting my chest muscles. Is this basic, I don't know what you want to call it. I guess it's like a Pilates bar press, I don't know. But I'm in this position, I got the Pilates bar here. You could use the squat stand actually with these grips here. It kind of works out. I think it stays on a little better than the squat stand. I'm gonna grab the weight bar attachment. A bigger bar would also be good too. Gonna drape it across right like this. And what I'm trying to do when I kind of set up is notice the way I'm kind of set up here. I got that pressing in through my chest line. If I bring it up, I got that nice angle that I was talking about. I'm not doing this. I'm not gonna get myself into this position because this is gonna be a little more shoulders when I start. And also, I'm just not feeling that stretch in my chest. I gotta pre-stretch more of my shoulders. So I find this position, again, this could be based on my height, my weight, the way I can flexibly kind of get in this position. This might not work for everybody, but I drape this across, I set myself up, I'm already really engaged, ready to press. Make sure this is straight. And I'm gonna press right through my chest line. It's a little crooked, but that's okay. Not the highest incline, but I can tell you right now, this feels good to me. I mean, I'm feeling it right through my chest line, feeling it right through my chest. Maybe a little bit more in the upper part of my chest, especially as I finish through this range of motion. But definitely challenging. I could probably get maybe another 10 more or so out of that. This is one of those exercises maybe you can do for a while, but you really, I think you're really getting that benefit, right? I feel like I totally feel that really in here. I don't feel too, I mean, yeah, your shoulder and your triceps are gonna work, but I'm definitely feeling it through here. Now you can follow through and work a little bit more shoulders if you wanted to. Even if I ditch the bar and more of a close grip, I can still kind of think about flushing it through this way. Although I will say this feels a lot better if you have this. I could probably say a little bit more about different exercises that would really stress that more, but honestly, some of this stuff comes down to the individual level of what you're doing, what you previously have done, how to fare with different tensions, what model you have, and what things we can kind of do with it. But those are some staples that I think will help pretty much everybody, regardless of what model total gym or sliding bench trainer you guys have. If hopefully it's answered that question or helped some people out. If you have any specific questions about this or another exercise, definitely let me know. And again, I apologize for the audio quality, but I'll see you guys on the next video. Thank you.